Continue to learn. That's the main thing, learn. But that's investing in yourself. So continue to learn, continue to pour into yourself, continue to pour in your glass. And that's pretty much the lesson of today. Again, to sum it up, you have a glass that's halfway empty or considered halfway full, depending on the perspective. But the perspective I want you to have, the message to my unborn son, the perspective I want you to have is that your glass is always halfway full. And you can always bring it up to 60% full, 70% full, 90% full, 100% full at any time. So the fluctuations of life, the ins and outs of life, the ups and downs of life don't affect you, because you always have a foundation where you're continuously pouring into your glass and pouring into your glass. What I want to talk about today, this is what some would consider the Sabbath day. It's Saturday, Sábado in Spanish, but what some would consider the Sabbath day. This is my Sabbath day, and I was actually listening to a preacher talk today, and he kind of touched on something that resonated with me that I kind of want to share. And this is not going to be preachy, so please don't be turned away. They're not going to be preachy at all. But this is about perspective. So the preacher, and I'm sure everybody's heard this saying before, you have a glass that's either considered half empty or half full. And honestly, I feel everybody's heard that. If you haven't heard that before, now you've heard it. So you have a glass, and when you fill it up halfway, some people consider it half empty, some people consider it half full. Felt that you had a glass that was full already, and let's say you drank the glass to halfway. You would consider that glass half empty because you're going towards the bottom of the glass being completely gone, or the contents in the glass being completely gone. And then you have the other end of the spectrum that I like to think is that the glass is halfway full, because as you're pouring into the glass is going from 10% full, 20% full, 30% full, up to 50% full. So you're constantly pouring into this glass, Be mindful of how you perceive life. It was what I like to say, because this is why it resonated with me. Be mindful how you perceive life, or how you perceive your situation, because there are people out here that they considered their glass either full at one point in time, and it became half empty, and now it becomes a burden upon them, or a burden to them, that life is unfair, or life isn't treating them right, or life isn't what it's supposed to be. And it's either something they did to make their glass halfway full by taking it from 100% full to halfway full, or something somebody else did, which from their perspective is something somebody else did that took their glass from full to halfway full. Because at the end of the day, it's all about perspective, and I really want to enlighten you on perspective. So let's say I were in that situation, my glass became halfway full. You would naturally want to think, okay, what did I do to make it all the way full in the first place? It became halfway full. Maybe this is a test for me to make it full again, and make it full even faster. That's one of the ways to perceive that. I guess it's harder for me to understand that perspective, because I never come from a background where my glass was full, or a silver spoon, or any kind of feeling of entitlement, or that I deserve something that I didn't work for. So I always consider my glass halfway full, because I'm constantly pouring into my education, pouring into things that'll help me achieve my vision. So as this glass continues to grow, it's going to each goal that I hit is pretty much an achievement it's a cheer. Like, okay, I'm a quarter way full, I'm a third of way full, now I'm halfway full. And when I'm 100% full and overflowing, then it's really no no take back. But if I do, so let's say I'm at 100% and take a drink of that glass and go back to halfway full, well, now I've established a foundation in my life to make that glass full again. So the drawback of my cup now being halfway full, or something happened in my life that feels like it turns upside down and I'm going through a storm in my life, like things won't change or things won't get better. Well, the fact that there was a foundation established to go from 0% full to 50% full to 100% full, that's always going to be there because it's instilled. That's kind of like what I was, kind of like what in the Bible when they say building your house on the rock. Once you kind of have that foundation, you can constantly build that over and over and over again. It could be any situation that you possibly be dealing with. This is a parallel universal law. So you'll hear me say this over and over again about parallel laws. Like, even though the details might be different, even though the situation might be a little different, the law doesn't change. Invest in other people, continue to make connections towards your vision, towards your goals, and then your glass will never be halfway empty. Maybe you might go through a period of setback, but with the mindset and the humbleness that your glass is halfway full, the setback will seem like, okay, this is a challenge. I take this as a personal challenge to whoever took away 50% of my glass. I take this as a personal challenge to the universe. I can fill this glass back up even faster next time. And not even faster, it's going to overflow next time. Let's use an example. So, let's say, I don't know when you would be watching this, but let's say you were in elementary school, and you let's say play football or play basketball, any sport. You play a sport, and you're really good in elementary school. You're the fastest kid in that elementary school. I mean, every recess, if you still have recess at the time, but every recess you're always first pick because you're the fastest. You know nobody can catch you. You always score a touchdown. You always score the most baskets. You always make the most goals, whichever sport it is. But you're always the best at it. So you're the best at your sport. And then from your perspective, your glass is full. But then there's a time when you graduate elementary school, and it's the proudest day of your parents' life. You graduate elementary school, you're going into the big person school, from perspective, it's a little person to me, but going into middle school, now you're like, okay, I'm on top of the world, I'm the fastest kid. But then you get to the school and there are a few kids faster than you. Well, that kind of, again, back to universal law and parallels, that kind of, I would consider that taking 50% out of your glass. Now your glass is only halfway full. It was full, it was overflowing in elementary school, but now you're in middle school and now your glass is halfway full again. Well, at this point in life, you have a decision to make. Okay? The decision is, and you're going to go through this, and the goal of this whole vlog is to help you recognize this, but you're going to go through this. The decision is either be sad and feel like you're not worthy enough to, it's a ring, to either be sad and feel like you're not worthy enough to play at recess or play the sports anymore, or to take that as a personal challenge because your glass is now halfway full again. When you were in elementary school, you worked to work your glass up to 100%. So you know how to work your glass back up to 100%. So you work, you invest in yourself, you make yourself faster, you network with the people who are faster than you and learn how they're getting fast and learn the things that they're doing. You continuously pour into your glass until it's full again. Again, this kind of, the whole reason we bring this analogy up is kind of it helps put into perspective that not at all times your glass will be all the way full, and there will be times where it'll be challenging. You'll go into middle school and your glass would feel like it's halfway full, But then you have the responsibility of taking that as a personal challenge to the universe. Like, oh, you put me in this new situation because at 100% full and overflowing in elementary school, it wasn't a challenge to you anymore. It wasn't a challenge to you anymore. Now it's time to graduate. Now it's time to go to the next level. So we're gonna put you through a challenge, put you through some tough times, put you through some mental moments where you feel even depressed, you feel like you're not good enough. We're going to put you through this because we're going to test you. The universe is going to test you to see if you want it. And if you want it, what you're going to do is naturally reach out and make it happen. Invest into your glass. Reach out to the people who are doing fast. Reach out to the coach. If you're on the team, reach out to the coaches. If you're in the band, rehearse longer. Rehearse with the best of the orchestra. Just continuously pour into your glass, and then more than likely, being my son or being the person whoever follows this, more than likely, by the time you reach the last year of your middle school, you'll be at 100% of your glass again, and you'll be the most liked kid. You'll feel like your glass is all the way full again. But then you go through it one more time through high school. And it's not one more time because you're going to go through it throughout your whole life. But you're going to go through it through high school where now it's even more kids and bigger kids. So let's say you play football. You were very good in middle school, but now you get to high school and you're bringing multiple schools together, and there are bigger kids at the other school or faster kids at the other school. Now you have to work. Your glass went back to halfway full. You have to work twice as hard or just as hard to catch up to fill your glass back up or catch up to the best kid. And that's a challenge, and you should personally take that as a personal challenge. And let's just take it into, I don't know if you'll be very studious, and I hope you will. And if you're not, that's okay too. But I use sports because I feel sports is something that a lot of kids see as a way out currently. But let's just take this into being studious. Your studies in elementary school, things are considered easy. More than likely, your parents sat down with you when you were younger and taught you how to read, taught you how to do addition, multiplication, and pretty much basic arithmetic when you were young. So going into elementary school, you pretty much knew all the elements that you needed to know. So your glass was already full going in, so it was very easy. Okay, now you get to middle school. Okay, your glass halfway empty because now you're being introduced to new content that you never heard of before. Social studies, all of these things that you never heard of before, where you actually have to spend time and invest in your glass. Then again, just like sports, you'll get to where you're comfortable there, and this is considered easy because now you're learning how to maybe taking on novels, reading novels, doing book reports and things like that. But then you go into high school where your curriculum becomes a little more tedious, where now you have to introduce the time management aspect of things, and that knocks your glass back down. And this is where, if you don't understand this process, this is where people get caught up when they're like, well, forget school, I'm not good at school. Is because they're not understanding that it's purposefully set, and this is for life in general. It's purposefully set for when you reach a plateau, when you get to a certain point and it's like autopilot mode and life is good and it's easy, something's going to come along to knock you down a notch to make sure you're continuously growing. Or not even knock you down a notch, but take the bar up a notch to make sure you're continuously growing and not stagnant. Never be stagnant. So again, it's really establishing a foundation to continuously grow. A lot of I've seen people, online. I'm sure online will be a thing, but I've seen people online that are like, forget school. There's no purpose, and they kind of miss the core of school. They miss the core purpose of school. School, you will go in and you will learn things that you'll never use in life. Never use in life. Things that you'll forget in life. But that's not the core lesson that you're supposed to learn in school. The core lesson is learn something, retain information, and be able to be agile enough to, when the bar moves above you, reach that new level. Reach that new level and show, I'll dominate at this too. And the bar raises higher, reach that new level. I'll dominate this too. Dominate at this too. Until you, even if you reach PhD level, you dominate at that as well. But let's go past PhD level. Let's say you're done with school, you're not doing school anymore. Well, even in life, even without school involved, you should always be trying to reach the next plateau. You should always be trying to advance yourself to reach the next plateau, because that is where real success lies. Currently, I don't know what things will be like when you're watching this video, but currently a lot of people are being deceived by material things and attention, and missing the elevation of themselves and how to elevate themselves mentally, physically, and emotionally for a bigger purpose. Because material things, kind of going back to the glass, filling up the glass, the material things fade away. They're like, again, you're drinking your glass. You buy this new car, you drunk half your glass. You built up your bank account. You bought this car, you drunk half your glass. You bought this house, you drunk another quarter of your glass. Even though that sounds backward. You bought your house, you drunk half your glass. You bought a car, drunk a quarter of your glass. But then you never established a way to fill the glass up, or establish a system to bring more money in. Put more into your glass to continuously fill it up. That's where knowledge comes into play, because you find these avenues of how to fill your glass up without working as hard to fill it up. And we'll get into that into later videos. Always consider your glass halfway full. Continuously pour into your glass, and never give up on your glass. No matter how much you drink out of your glass, or somebody drinks out of your glass, continuously pour into your glass until it overflows. Because the more you pour into your glass, the more resources you accumulate to fill your glass up, and it'll fill up that much faster. And then as the universe and as God sees that your glass is filling up, He will more than likely give you a bigger glass or a bigger jug to fill up. And that's blessings upon blessings. So never consider your glass halfway empty. It's always halfway full, and you're always striving to fill it up as fast as you can in the most efficient way, with a vision towards moving forward or towards advancing yourself. Always advance yourself, and never sell yourself short. So again, I just want to wrap this up and leave this here until I come up with another topic. But thank you for spending time and watching this video. Again, this is a message to my unborn son. I really don't have to thank you, because you're gonna watch it anyway, and you're gonna live with me and know these things. But again, for any young man, mother who lets their young sons watch this, thank you for your time. And again, I hope you're not too critical on my thoughts. These are my personal opinions. These are my personal thoughts. Everybody else has their own perspectives, own opinions, and you're definitely your opinions and perspectives are valued. But for the purpose of this for this vlog, if you share the same opinion, just hit the like button, and I'll continue to make videos. And really, I don't want this turning into a platform where it's a back and forth. It's just me sharing what I've learned and the experiences that I've learned, and I want this to be a continuously positive experience. So Again, don't hold my feet to the fire when I might say something that you might not agree with, or somebody else might not agree with, because it's what I believe. It's my perspective. So again, and I'm continuously learning, continuously pouring into my glass. So again, I would say let the universe work with me, and again, let the universe work with you as well. But again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing back from y'all soon. Later, y'all.